During this meeting, we will be referring to the Connecticut State Advisory Council for Special Education as SAC and the Connecticut State Department of Education as CSDE throughout this meeting. Okay, let's begin with the first agenda item, introductions and roles. As I call out names on my screen, please state your name and your role on this council. Could you also put your name and your role in the chat for attendance? And I am actually going to go to, I only see Jolie, so I'm gonna have to go really quick. Okay, next, Missy Wrigley.
Hi, I'm Missy Wrigley, and I am a member of SAC as a parent.
Wonderful. Catherine Sum.
Hi, I'm Catherine Sum. I'm the Education Supervisor of the Children's Services Program at BESB, and the stakeholder group I represent is ADS BESB.
Wonderful. Jennifer.
I am Jennifer Lucier, and I represent parents.
Tom.
Tom Kosker, representing Disability Rights Connecticut.
Lena. Lena. Okay.
I was talking about myself. I'm Lena Esposito and represented the parents. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Klemenkowitz.
Good morning, everyone. Brian Klimkowitz. I'm the Special Education Division Director at the State Department of Education. Great to see you all.
Thank you. Patricia. Is that the right? Yeah, there you go.
Hi, good morning. Patricia Nunez. I represent the Judicial Branch Court Support Services Division for students placed in detention and out-of-home residential care. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
Rick Ray, UC Public School Teachers.
Thank you so much. Jane?
Jane Hampton Smith, the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center, and my stakeholder group are the parents that call our center statewide.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Dimpy?
Hi, I'm Dimpy Malvania. I parents.
One more second. I think we're the volume is your sound is just a little off. One more time.
This is Dimpy Malvania. I'm a parent stakeholder.
Thank you so much. Nachi?
Morning, everybody. Nachi Bhatt, representing students in DCF care.
Thank you. Jeffrey?
Jeffrey Spar, parent, chair of the Legislative Committee.
Thank you. Charles?
Charles Ciccarella. I previously represented the Connecticut Council of Administrators of Special Education. I've since dropped from that piece. I am the Director of Student Services here in Branford, and I'm sort of on as a general public person who also will be handing the baton to the next CONCASE representative.
Thank you so much. Sean?
Good morning, I'm Sean Cronin, and I work with Brian in the Connecticut State Department of Education.
Thank you so much. Anna?
Good morning, I'm Anna Wittig. I work for Oak Hill School, but I'm here representing private state-approved special education programs.
Thank you so much. Michael?
Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. Michael Scanlon here, youth coordinator at CPAC, and here as a member with a disability for the SAC Council.
Thank you so much. Cassandra?
Yeah, I'm Cassandra Riley. I work at Brass City Charter School in Waterbury, and I am the charter school rep for all charter schools.
Wonderful. Tammy?
Hi, I'm Tammy Raccio, and I represent parents.
Thank you. In my corner, I had says Talarita. Who is that?
It's me, Louis Talarita, State Department of Education, and I represent the McKinney-Vento Homeless Children and Youth Program.
Thank you so much. Brian Smith?
Yes, good morning. My name is Brian Smith. I'm an Assistant Regional Director, and I represent the Connecticut Department of Developmental Services.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tammy? Okay. Matt?
Tammy, we heard from, yeah.
We heard from, that's right, sorry.
Yeah.
And my screen keeps jumping.
Everybody shifted a little bit on screen.
Yeah, me too. Matt?
That would be
Matt. Yep. Matt Falconer. Yeah, Matt Falconer is CSDE.
Oh, that's right. He's the video.
Support for
and then
technological aspects of our meeting. So thanks for being on, Matt.
So then we have left Lori and then Doris. I think that's it. Lori Fortuna.
I'm Lori Fortuna and I'm a parent.
Thank you so much. Doris?
Wendy, I'm a person born with disabilities and I represent parents. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So next on the agenda, and first of all, thank you for so many people that are here today. Next on the agenda is the council purpose and function, and I will do this quickly. Under the authority of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Connecticut State Department of Education maintains an advisory council for the purpose of providing policy guidance with respect to special education and related services for children and youth with disabilities ages 3 years to 21 years in the state. So more detailed information is on the Connecticut State Department of Education website. Public comment, Jolie, anyone for public comment? I think Brian already checked and there wasn't anyone.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. Can we now then go to old business? Thank you, Brian, for putting that up. The consent agenda. The September 28th SAC Council meeting minutes need to be approved. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
I have a couple corrections for our attendance. Tammy Raccio is still listed as the chair, and that should be you, Susan. And I know that Joviana Morales was here and Jake Shumbo, and I didn't see them listed.
Okay. Any other corrections?
I already contacted Jolie, so if it can be noted that I was also in attendance and I wasn't included in the attendance on the attendance list. Doris, thank you.
Okay, and I see in the chat that I did not ask Sean for introductions. I'm terribly sorry. I want to make sure that he is on the list for attendance this time. But now that we should be taking a vote. Would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Oh,
I'll second. That's okay. Jane will move. I'll second.
Okay. Did you get that, Jolie?
I did. Thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful. Abstentions? Anyone? Okay, let's take a vote. And I'm trying to figure this out on my new computer. So I am voting affirmatively, Jolie, because I can't figure out how to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah, folks could either raise their hand or
Right.
unmute and say aye for once the so the call is for approval of the full council meeting minutes of September 28th.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. The September 28th council meeting minutes are now approved. Great, we're moving quickly today. So the executive committee report. The SAC Executive Committee held a meeting on October 18th, and there's a recording on the CSDE website. At this meeting, we discussed finalizing our SAC priorities and continuing to work on the annual report. The CSDE will be supplying the annual report action plan template so we can start inputting information. And we are going to be receiving the state performance plan review to guide our priorities and recommendations. So in addition, we discussed having presenters who are well-versed in our SAC priorities at future meetings. I sent out committee appointment letters to those who expressed interest. I noticed in the minutes from the September 28th meeting, it's in that minutes under section 5, letter C, meeting updates. It states that there's no chair for the ad hoc committee, but according to our bylaws, Article 7, Section 2, it states that the ad hoc committee shall be chaired by a member of the council appointed by the chair with the consent of the council. So pursuant to our bylaws, I've reached out to the ad hoc committee and I'm waiting responses for those interested in being chair. And I'd love to get that set by Friday. So anyone who is interested in being on the ad hoc committee and has an additional interest of being a chair, please reach out to me. And committee membership is a great segue to Catherine Sum, who will give the membership committee report.
Hi, everyone. The membership committee had a meeting on Friday, October 14th, where we discussed SAC attendance, which has been very, very good. So thanks to all of you. And we also discussed some of our openings. As Brian mentioned earlier, we do have an opening for a CONCASE representative, so we are looking to fill that. We are also in the process of drafting a legislative recruitment flyer because at this point in time, we don't have that stakeholder group represented on the SAC. We are also recruiting for student members. We are very fortunate that Mia Giantonio is our student representative, but we do have 3 vacancies. And I know one of the council members has reached out to me and has a potential student member, but if anyone else knows of anyone, we would love to consider them for the council. And that's my report. Any questions?
This is Susan. I have a quick question.
Yes.
Where are we with governor's letters?
So I don't have a final tally on all of the letters we are waiting for, but I can follow up on that, Susan. I do know a number of people have received their appointment letters, but I know that there are some that are still, some people are still waiting. So I'll get that for you.
Great. And I would love a few more members to the legislative committee.
Okay.
If anybody is interested.
Can I talk on that?
Yes, I guess. Is that correct? Yeah.
So yeah, I had gotten a note about that. We had a couple of new members that were signed up for that, which is great. I also, in the email, it wasn't mentioned, and Rick is here and Doris is here. They weren't in the email, so I want to know if Rick Riusi and Doris Maldonado are still going to be on the legislative committee.
Yes.
I was just going to ask that question. Yes, I am. I thought I was excluded.
Oh, no, I'm terribly sorry. I just went off the Padlet for people that signed up for committees at the last meeting, so I apologize. And I will get you out a letter.
We had a good group last time, so I'm
yeah, I
hoping
was also on it.
Thank you.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, so anybody that wants to be on it, they could then write to Susan and we'll include that, but I wanted to correct that. Thanks for your help.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Susan.
much. Thank you. All right.
Susan, just a quick note, if I could, too. When the committees meet, any member of the larger council are certainly welcome to attend those meetings for sure, even if you're not formally part of that committee. Again, they're all public meetings, so they are streamed for the public. So folks outside of or not currently seated on the council can also view those sessions. But just wanted to mention that as well, that if you're concerned about commitment and time and attending all meetings, even if you're able to attend one of the sessions as a member, please feel free to do that and just reach out to the chairs to make sure that you have the appropriate links and contact information. But thank you all for your time in between meetings and outside meetings. And Jeff, I know you're aware and the team's aware that this is a long legislative session this year, so different than last year. It'll be expanded a bit as the activities start. And then Susan, I also wanted to mention that we had attempted to be live in person at the Legislative Office building for our kickoff meeting this year. We are still awaiting our November request to meet at the LOB for our November session. And then we've also reached out to Laura Stefan, who's our legislative liaison, to try to arrange and coordinate a legislative breakfast for you all to talk about the advisory council, what your role is, and how the legislature can help support the activities that you're all engaged in. So we're working to, in the very near future, hopefully getting confirmation on that November date, whether or not that is a possibility, as well as the legislative breakfast. Even if we don't end up meeting at the legislative office building, there's still an opportunity to try to coordinate and arrange that breakfast.
Brian, do we have kind of a deadline to notify people about that in-person November 30th meeting? Because I know some people have a distance to travel.
Yeah, Jolie, I'm not sure if you have updated. I know they've said that the request is being processed. We ran into a little bit of difficulty last time in that we were a week before and still hadn't heard confirmation. So we had to make the call to go to virtual. But Jolie, could you just jump on and let us know what the last contact was as far as timing?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now we
Oh.
can.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can hear you now.
Thank you so much. Okay, so last I checked, they had moved our request from the September 30th to the November 30th date. But the person who I am working with at the LOB, it's a new process. And she's not even kept up to basically we're still in the process. She has not heard back from on approval. We're still in the process of being approved.
Okay, so would it be agreeable to the council if we don't have confirmation 2 weeks prior that we'll make other arrangements? Does that give people enough lead time?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
And we could also move the legislative breakfast to January 11th when the new legislators would be in office.
Yeah, that's a great point as well, Susan. We can definitely do that.
Okay, wonderful thoughts, everyone.
Brian,
You want to do your Special Education Division Director report whenever you're ready?
can I just ask Brian a question? Brian, would you do me
Sure.
a favor could you please give me the heads up about when the legislative session is going to kick into gear, okay?
Yes, what we'll do is, and we can probably schedule our first legislative committee session. And what we'll do is we'll prepare a timeline and share that out with the committee.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great, so thank you, Susan. Again, it's great to see
I'm sorry to
everyone.
interrupt
Oh,
you. Cassandra has
yeah,
her
go ahead.
hand up.
Oh, great, okay.
Sorry
Go
about
ahead,
that.
Cassandra, yep. Cassandra, are you able to unmute and ask your question?
I think her hand was still up from earlier, so.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
I can't see the full screen, so thank you.
All right, well, if you feel free to interrupt me. if
Nope,
that's,
you
I
guys are
guess,
right. It was up from earlier. Sorry.
Okay. Affirmative.
Working
Yeah.
on it.
Thanks, Cassandra.
Sure.
All right, so for our meeting today, as we mentioned, it's a truncated time frame for us today, a 90-minute meeting. So I really want to take the next 60 minutes for us to work in small groups to provide, let me just back up one step. During our last meeting, we all as a large group were able to contribute to your 4 priority areas. So what I'd like to do today, and based on the executive committee recommendations, is break up into 3 groups and work through those priority areas. And the two outcomes that we're trying to achieve in the next hour are to start to craft recommendations to the Bureau of Special Education and recommendations to the legislature. You don't have to feel like these are etched in stone or anything. It's just a matter of getting your ideas on paper based on the information in the previous discussions that we had over the summer during the training and orientation that we held, as well as during the first session, and even bringing in previous information and activities. Many of you have been working and advising the Bureau for many years in the legislature. So I felt it was important to look at the SPP, which is our state performance plan, an annual performance report feedback from last year, of which you all were contributors to and had members of the advisory council on those stakeholder teams. So many of those activities align with your priorities. So what I did was to create a document with your priorities broken out with some of the previous recommendations that were made and in those sessions. And the 2 areas that are, or I should say 3 areas that were most in concert with those recommendations or aligned, if you will, were the least restrictive environment work around our special education indicators 5 and 6, our transition. So one of your priority areas are for employment opportunities for students with exceptionalities once they graduate high school. So we have some recommendations there. And then the third area is around mental health and behavioral supports for students within the context of special education. And we've included some data around our current chronic absenteeism rates and discipline rates. So let me just share with you the document. Sean will be facilitating one of the sessions. I will be facilitating a second one, and Jolie will be facilitating the third one. And we're just going to be taking notes for you. But one of your priority areas was around staffing shortages and staffing in general. So we just have sort of high level bullets of discussions that happened previously and your concern around the impact for students when there are shortages in the building, and just a list of the different areas, whether it be certified, non-certified, and related service areas. Your prior work talked about staff recognition, collaboration with higher ed prep programs, certification, and then not only recruitment, but also retention strategies. There is a document that we have that is just for your future reference. The OSUP is the Office of Special Education Programs at the federal level, and they recently on October 4th provided a resource to states around this issue, and the resources at the federal level, as well as some clarifications around flexibilities that states would have in supporting students in schools on IEPs. So in our groups, we're really going to start building out these recommendations, again, for the State Department as well as for the legislature. And if it's too difficult to differentiate between the two, that's okay. We're just kind of getting these down in preparation for our annual report. Least restrictive environment is the second. What we did was just include a chart or table for you all. I'm just going to minimize the picture here for a minute. So in this chart, there are counts for students with IEPs ages 6 through 21. And this is our federal reporting data. The 80 to 100 here represents, that means students are in environments with non-disabled peers at least 80% of the time to 100% of the time. So this 68.2 means that 68.2% of these student counts are with their non-disabled peers at least 80% of time or more during their school day. This section here is 40% of the time through 79, and the percentage aligned with that. 0% of 0 time all the way through 39 and so forth. And 5C means that the student is in a separate setting or segregated setting. So that could be an approved private special education program. It could be in a hospitalization, it could be in correctional facilities. So those are students there with that population. And then the mean time with non-disabled peers, twin dip, that's what twin dip stands for. So what we have from 1819 all the way through 2021 data here. For LRE, this just a couple of bullets here to tie in your other areas of importance for your priorities and how staffing affects LRE. These bullets here were the recommendations from the SPP APR process. Please don't feel like you have to include all or some or any of these recommendations. But as mentioned, we just wanted to give you at least a starting point of what a group of stakeholders have recommended in this area. So there are quite a few to work through, but they're organized by training and by training opportunities and professional development or recommendations previously submitted to the state on this topic. So again, please, work with these, get kind of into the language, and we really want to start to craft some recommendations. Student voice is the next topic. Some of the high-level opportunities you've talked about are student-led PPT meetings, planning and placement team, participation of students in those meetings, and then self-determination and advocacy skills, the importance of that. So we did not have recommendations for student voice as part of the SPP, so it's a little more of a blank slate for you to work from on that area. We do have some great programs and great initiatives in place, which I know you're aware of. And then there are two more: social, emotional, mental health learning needs. In your priority work over the summer, we talked about the screening tools and the use of screeners, and then really understanding the role of the school, special education teams specifically, parents and family, and then community providers, because we know this is an area that wouldn't fall in isolation in any one of those areas. So how does special education contribute to or support students' ongoing and differentiated needs around mental health and behavior? What I did from the SPP, or we did from the SPP process, was again bring in an area that is related to mental health and behavior, which is discipline and suspension. That's come up in a lot of our discussions in the process of manifestation determinations that teams engage in. So we have some recommendations, again, from previous committee work that we can look at in a little bit more depth. The chronic absenteeism connection here, as I mentioned, we really wanted to highlight as of June last year. I walked through this a little bit. So this is the total student count. And then this is the special ed students with disabilities, or IEPs, count. And then these are the percentages of students that are chronically absent as of June 2022 from the previous school year. So that means students without disabilities, 22%, or it would be 22.62 if you carry out the decimals, of all students were chronically absent from school last year. What that means is they were absent 10% or more of the school year. So a full school year is 180 days. Let's say that means that they would be absent at least 18 times, which is a big impact. Students with disabilities is a higher rate of chronic absenteeism, which we know. So students with disabilities were absent 35% of the time, 35% of students with disabilities were chronically absent 10% or more of the school year. We further break that out for you by disability category, and you can see the numbers in green mean that the rates of chronic absenteeism reduced from January to June, but for students with, this is the previous disability category. As you're probably all aware, the new category is emotional disabilities, which will be moving forward in all of our reporting, and students with other health impairments. But you can see the very high rates for students with emotional. This means that almost 60% of students with emotional disabilities are chronically absent from school. So there isn't, we're not meaning to tie your recommendations around mental health and behavior only to chronic absenteeism or to discipline, but we know that those discussions have happened in the council, so we hope you find that data valuable, and then as well as recommendations for future presentations. Our last area is around employment for students with IEPs once graduated or reaching the maximum age of eligibility. So again, we have recommendations that were made. Some of these you may want to build upon, others you may want to use as a foundation for discussion in your small groups. And then again, there were some that we were more catered toward the Connecticut State Department of Education. So please feel free to remove these, adjust these, edit these as you feel the need. I went through a lot of information there, but we have time now to roll up our sleeves a little bit and get typing and get your concepts and ideas. What will happen is in group one, that will be Sean's group. That team will start with Sean. Let me unshare for a second here. Just wanted to give proper directions. Yeah, so group 1 will start with mental health and social emotional with Sean and work through the priorities as far as you can get. Jolie's group will start with least restrictive environment and work through the worksheet. And then the group that I'm with will start with staff shortages. So we'll all have an opportunity we may not reach all of those. And in fact, it's safe to say we probably won't get through all of those, but with the groups working in sort of overlapping fashion, by the end of this session today, the entire council will have input in all of the 5 areas. Questions, comments, suggestions, or other?
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Doris.
I don't know which group I should be in, but I'd like to know where would you place the discussion addressing the unprofessional participation by SD surrogate parents in 504s, which is against the National IDEA statute, and their attempt to exclude not only student voice, parental involvement, and friend and family members, especially of color, children of color in the DCF system. Where should I go to express my discern?
Doris, you've reached out directly to the State Department of Education as well as DCF for that specific issue. So that's not part of our priority activity today.
But it is. It is under SEL and it is under student participation, although it's under PPTs and IDEA.
Yeah,
and I have not received a response.
The response was sent to you via email yesterday, 2 days ago, actually.
No, Georgette's response is not a response, Brian.
So if we could take
an issue that's happening with several children in the system.
Yeah, if we could take this offline, Doris, because for today's activity, we're breaking up into groups of 3 and the groups are randomized. So the council will be split into thirds, and then we're going to be speaking about those priorities. So as members can contribute to those priority areas, we want to make recommendations to the State Department as well as to the legislature. So as you're mentioning, many of our topics overlap across, so it's very hard to compartmentalize, but that's our task in front of us for the next 50 or so minutes until 10:30.
Brian? My question wasn't answered, though.
Missy here. I'm sorry, Doris. Just to logistic pieces. I've got the breakout room set up. I've got you in your set rooms here.
Thank you.
I don't know that Zoom allows us to record during breakout sessions.
Right. Yeah, the breakout sessions themselves won't be recorded.
Okay.
So I think Matt will just kind of let Matt know. We can come back as a group, maybe 5 minutes left, just for people to share, just to kind of wrap up and close out the meeting publicly. And we'll have minutes and then a document for, as you know, because this activity will contribute to the annual report.
Okay.
Any other questions about the task in front of us? Sean, are you good to go? You have the document all set, and Jolie as well?
Did you email the document, Brian?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Awesome.
Are we going to get a copy of that document?
Yeah, so once we have input from all 3 breakout groups, we're going to consolidate it into one and then share it back out with the entire committee.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all so much. We'll see you in at about 10:25. Missy, will somebody be able to bring us back?
I set the time for 40 minutes, but I will bring you back whenever you're ready to come back.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to open them up now. Just go down into your, where it says breakout rooms and accept your room. Okay.
still recorded and live streamed here for our session back. We only have a few minutes left to go, Susan, but I don't know if we want to take a minute or two just for each Sean, Jolie, and I to share out a little bit. The other option would be for us to bring these documents back to the executive committee, condense them, and then share them back out with the larger group. But just taking 10 seconds, we were able to dive in really deep for one of the 5 priority areas. I'm not sure how other groups managed that, working through it, but ours was around staffing shortages and working conditions for special ed teachers, paraprofessionals, other non-certified and certified individuals, as well as related service, and really great recommendations and foundations for information. So good job to group, whatever group number we were. Group 3. Thanks, Brian. Sean, you started with mental health and behavioral needs of students with IEPs.
And that's all we got to. So we were similar to you. We really focused on mental health and SEL. We went through everything on that. I think we probably could have spent at least another hour on it. And so we really dived into it. We focused a lot on the needs of students and what we could and couldn't do. And so the thought that we would even be able to move on to another topic was unrealistic. So, but we did get a lot accomplished.
Thanks, Sean. And Jolie, you want to provide a quick update for your group?
I do not, but I will let the chair, because that was a hot topic. Susan, do you mind summarizing? Giving a little.
Sure. Jane, anyone jump in? We really felt there should be family engagement, inclusive practice, especially for trauma-informed practices. Peers as natural supports. How to support them in general education, inclusive practices that work, and districts need accurate guidance, and we need certified. Is that right, Jane? We need more certification so that you could have a reading specialist in the classroom walking around. But
I don't know that it was more certification. It was clarity on who could serve students with disabilities in addition to special ed teachers, because it came up that people don't always know they can use other certified staff like reading specialists to meet a child's need. So
that's what I captured in my notes.
Yes.
Right. So you're better at that. And then we discussed having literacy and numeracy centers possibly open before and after school.
And all day long.
And I'm trying to figure co-teaching we discussed. Providing inclusion coaches to LEAs, and we're wondering if about ESSER and ARPA funding for professional development, if there's any available. Anything else?
Awesome. So you dove into the LR, least restrictive environment inclusion, and so we've covered. It sounds like we covered 3 of the 5 areas. So that's a good accomplishment today. And I don't want you to feel as though if you weren't involved in the other discussions that you won't have input. We'll certainly throughout this process of finishing the annual report have more opportunities for contributions and polishing up some of the recommendations. But it was a very effective 40 minutes for our groups, it sounds like. So great job all.
Brian,
you all rolled up your sleeves. Yes.
Oh, Brian, I'm sorry. It's just my headphones were working, and then I had to say something.
Sure.
Please include the guidelines for when a child has to be restrained, and the seclusion rooms, because we don't have anything right here in Connecticut about how the seclusion rooms has to be built and provide for the when the children have difficulties and it has to be put in seclusion rooms. And then what is the guidelines about restraining? We have a lot of complaints about the parents, because it's not clear. It's not clear. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Lena, for bringing that up. And that certainly overlaps the area of inclusionary practices and least restrictive environment for sure. And we have several resources. There's one resource that's required to provide a parent when a student's at the student's first IEP meeting. but we're always looking to enhance and put resources and information in parents and educators' hands in easily understood, in clear manners. And so we have several resources too on our website that are updated legislative requirements around the emergency use of restraint and seclusion. And we also have annual reports every year that we report on all of the activities related to those practices as well. So what we can do, Lena, is bring those resources and attach them to the annual report so that you're all able to see what we have in place. And then, as you mentioned, there's a lot of concerns around that area. And then as well as a need for more information. So we can definitely include that in your recommendations for us at the Bureau.
Thank you, Brian.
I see Missy's hand is up.
Yeah, and Brian, you kind of addressed this, but I was just wondering if, because we couldn't do the rest of the sessions, the rest of the parts of that, if we'll have an opportunity to add something before you pull everything together. I'm just thinking of my area of transition. There's so many things that I would like to be able to add on there that we do, and other things that, so we would like that. I would like that opportunity to add stuff before you guys pull everything together.
Yeah, I think since we covered 3 of the 5, what we can do is just, instead of having 3 separate documents for the group, just put the one document with input that we have up to this point in time, and then revisit that same document. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes. Brian, what do you think about adding an ad hoc committee for priorities? Because it seems like we have a lot to do before this report is due in January, and that might clarify some positions of what's legislative, what's not.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. As the, you have the authority as the chair to begin or start or end any ad hoc committees. So it would just be a matter of Jolie, Sean, and I supporting the logistics around that as far as when people are available to meet. And I know there's timeline pressures for this as well, but this is ongoing work. Even after the annual report's submitted, the work continues with the priority areas. So don't feel as though you have to, move mountains between now and January necessarily. This is you're just starting out this full year, but the annual reports sort of overlap. So we'll report on activities from the end of last year into the beginning of this year, which makes it a little challenging logistically and anxiety provoking for a group, to have their report come out on the early end of things. But yes, we can definitely put together an ad hoc group if that's the wish of the council.
It would really help probably move along legislative. What we feel, if we could quickly pick out what we feel are legislative items, maybe.
Yeah. I feel like from the input that my group did, there's 3 or 4 pretty well thought out recommendations right now, which we can definitely build upon, and many more ideas around those kind of core areas. So very good. Other comments or questions or go to the order?
Great.
All
Make
right.
a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Any
Jolie.
extensions? Great. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
We
See
are
you in
adjourning at, what time is it?
10:33.
10:32.
10:33.
See you all in late November.
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hopefully at the legislative office.
Recording stopped.
Great. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.
See you at the next meeting.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Great work.